It's time for the Cybersecurity News Byte with Jim Guckin.
Cybersecurity News Byte, episode number 49. For March 13th, 2023, Batloader uses Google Ads, crypto pay-to-earn scam, Akamai has mitigated the largest DDoS so far, and Xenomorph Android banking Trojan returns. Welcome back to another Cybersecurity News Byte. I am Jim Guckin. For our first story this week, let's talk about Batloader. And if you're not familiar with it, it is malware that, well, as the name would suggest, is a loader file. It's utilized to really distribute other versions of malware. So, Batloader you get on your computer, and then from there they can download information stealers, banking Trojans, Cobalt Strike, any kind of ransomware. It loads stuff. This reason we're talking about this, honestly, is eSentire noticed that Google Ads were being utilized to spoof some legitimate software services. These legitimate software services, obviously, they want you to click on it so that you then download the loader file and then get further malware on your computer. So the ones that they have detected spoofing pretend to be Adobe, ChatGPT, Spotify, Tableau, Zoom, and all these have lookalike sites that they want you to kind of click through. And if you're not paying attention close enough, you click the file and then you get the loader and then you get the malware. So the lookalike websites host a Windows install file, which is obviously Batloader. When you download it and run it, it executes some Python scripts, which contains the Batloader payload, which then goes and gets it and brings it down. Now, the problem too with this is it allows malware to establish some persistence and kind of pivot through some enterprise networks. And this is not a new tactic at all. This is something that we've seen before. We've seen them utilize ads to kind of get people to click through. Because, you think about it. You go to a Google search and you type in Adobe or you type in Spotify. Most of us will probably end up clicking that top link without much thought. You're just going to see, all right, yeah, it's Spotify, boom, you click it. It looks like the Spotify site that you may be used to. It says, hey, you want to download this file. And you go, well, Spotify's not going to, do anything wrong to me. So yeah, I'll accept this and start utilizing it. And that's where the deviousness of this comes in at. And the fact that they are using the Google Ads, which you may wonder why, is because Google will put Google Ads above the thing that you're searching for, the legitimate results. So next time you go on Google and you search for something, even if it's a product, in fact, especially if it's a product, take a look at the first maybe 1-2 results. And I'm using air quotes, but you can't see it on a podcast. You look at them and I'll probably say sponsored result. Now, most companies will end up buying their own name to be at the top of the search result, but not everyone. So, the first 2 may be ads for similar or competing products. And then you get the first natural result. And this is where Google has, in its growth, has gotten a little tricky. It used to be off to the sides. It was easy to tell what is an ad and what is a search result. Now, because the ads are built into the search results, to give it that more organic thing, you're probably clicking the links for the company you're looking for, but rather than just a natural thing, they've actually paid for that click. I've seen it 100 times where I've looked up certain things, and the top one is the company, but they have a sponsored search result, I assume based on their name. And this is how you can trick people into clicking and downloading malware, because they make the assumption off the top that whatever they are engaging with, the top result is most likely what they want. And if they're not paying attention to that, that easily leads into going to a bad website. And if it's not a phishing or a malware, it could be, a competitor product. But most likely, you're going to get the product. But if you don't pay attention, you're not looking at the web address of where you're going, you could easily end up either putting your information into a phishing site or getting malware. Now, Google does everything they can to try to minimize that, but it doesn't mean they're going to catch everyone all the time. A lot of that system on the back end is totally automated at this point. There's no human looking at these ad results. It is just, you can go, you can buy an ad, you can point it to wherever you want, and that is the danger of this. So be careful, because right now the Batloader malware is pretending to be sponsored search results. And you definitely want to make sure that you are only clicking on the URLs to the sites that you want to and nothing else. Now, for our second story this week, has to do with a pay-to-earn scam based around crypto. And it's not just a straightforward scam like it usually is. This one involves a little bit of social engineering to it as well. They pretend to be your friends. So how this play-to-earn scam kind of works is it's based on mobile and online games. So you have to be, in that kind of gaming sphere for it to really take off. And the people come to you and they say, hey, look, there's a custom created gaming app that will give you huge financial rewards, which once again should be your number one key. There's a problem when someone's promising you big earnings back. All you gotta do is invest a little bit and you get tons back. Should be number one kind of red flag in your head. And these rewards are proportional to what you invest in the thing. So you invest $1, you get, let's just say, $110 back. You invest $100, it's $110,000. Just going along those lines where it keeps, the more you put in, the more you're expected to get back out of it. Now, as I said, this has a bit of a social engineering piece to it as well. And the scammers will actually contact you and start talking to you way before they even bring this application up. They find you through some gaming websites or some chats, and they kind of build a relationship with you before the scam even takes place. Once again, this is key long-term scam going on here. They're building that trust, and it doesn't have to be incredibly long. It could be a couple days, a couple weeks before they really get you to do it. So they tell the players that they can earn cryptocurrency in exchange for some activity, such like growing crops. So think about it like early, Farmville on Facebook. Something like that. You grow these virtual crops and you'll get money back for doing it. All right. Sounds kind of easy. Sounds like it's something anyone can get into. So you buy the cryptocurrency and you create a crypto wallet in this game. And the more funds you put in there, the more money you make out of it. Now, the game and the scammer tempt the victim with fake rewards to put more money into it. So, hey, you put $100 in, you get whatever they're going to promise you. I'm assuming it's either more cryptocurrency or maybe rewards in the game, whatever. Put more into your wallet, put more into the wallet. And they keep doing this process. And when you catch on and you try to stop making deposits or you try to get your money back out, they drain the wallet immediately. So now you have no money left. Now, some of them, and I'm assuming even the scummier of the scum, will say, hey, look, you can pay some taxes or fees and you get the money back. Now, this is a blatant lie. You will not get the money back. But now they've screwed you. They're trying to, screw you even worse. Which is why I'm saying you have to be just a certain level of scummy human to rip someone off and then turn around and try to re-rip them off even more. So what you can do, obviously stay vigilant. Be wary of any kind of messages or invitation to games that you're not familiar with. Every once in a while I get these when I play games like, hey, you should join me. We should be. Nope. I don't know who you are. I'm not I'm not interested. Especially if the games offer you unrealistic financial rewards. Definitely something you should be watching out for. And you have to remember that the old adage, if something seems too good to be true, probably is. If you do want to, because some games are coming up with this and there's a cryptocurrency wallets involved, use a unique wallet. Isolate your primary cryptocurrency wallet from anyone else you're playing with, or especially if you have a gaming wallet. Use a third-party blockchain explorer, and this will let you look at the balances and addresses of things in your gaming wallet. See if there's been transfers in and out. See if things look suspicious. It's going to be hard to tell, but at least you've looked into see what the activity around that wallet is. Use a third-party token allowance checker to see which sites or apps you may have given access to your wallet from. We're starting to see this a lot more, especially people are being familiar with it in Google and most other applications. Facebook, you sign it, you can see what applications you have given access and to what data you've given access to. So this is more on the cryptocurrency wallet side, so you can see, oh wait, I may have accidentally given access to my wallet to X application. And the third one, which I think is very important, which is sometimes it's, you don't want to admit it and it's hard. Report your theft of this if this happens to you to the FBI. They have an internet crime complaint center, and why it may not help necessarily in one scenario, you can help others from getting scammed the same. So I'm not saying they can't help you, but think of it as the more reports they can get, the better off they can do on taking some of these sites down and avoiding it. But in the end, just be vigilant. Treat your cryptocurrency as exactly as you would treat a wallet. Do not give it to anyone. Do not give access to your bank account to anyone. Be very cautious on what you do, and be wary of when someone says, look, I will give you 100-fold return on your investment. That's very unlikely. Be very cautious, because someone's just trying to make a quick buck out of you. And if they get you to kind of put a lot of money in there, you can lose a lot, especially as people don't really understand crypto as much. I mean, there are people who, trust me, who understand it way better than me. I don't understand nearly half of it. Well, maybe half of it. But other than that, I'm not one of these big crypto guys. But I know a lot of people who have money in crypto who don't understand it at all. It's like a stock market to them, and how easily they can lose that money and not be able to get it back, because it's in the account holder's possession. And most of these criminals will sit there and drain that money out of the account you sent it to and maybe run it through a cleaning service. So it's really hard to get it back. So just be very cautious when you're playing games, especially under those kind of circumstances. Now, I feel like this is the thing we talk about every few months, but Akamai has stopped the largest DDoS attack on record, which so far. And the reason I say so far is because we've dealt with these things, and they continue to kind of grow and grow and grow. Though I would say, usually these record-breaking ones are not long. They're very intense. They're very short, but they can take down a system. Now, luckily, the customer here was using Akamai as a DDoS protection service, and Akamai did their job. But if you don't have these services, if you're not a big business, I recommend you get one, especially if the website is your main source of income or driving customers, whatever you want to look at. That it's very important. So this takes place last month, the 23rd of February, at about 10:22 UTC. Now the attack peaked at 900.1 gigabytes per second. That's almost a terabyte of traffic per second. They sent 158.2 million packets per second to get that 900 gigs. Now, the attack was launched against a customer in the Asian Pacific market. The overall attack, once again, as I mentioned, is only really a few minutes. Very intense, but very short-lived. The attack kind of hit its peak during the first minute of the attack. Now, Akamai, what they do is when they detect one of these attacks, they kind of side load the traffic the best they can to what they call a scrubbing network. It'll take the brunt of the attack and leave the customer's website virtually or totally untouched in this attack. So the mitigation that Akamai had to do, about 48% of the scrubbing centers in the Asian Pacific region were hit. 14.6 was redirected to one of their Hong Kong centers, but all 26 of their scrubbing centers where they send this data had some load from this attack. Now, as I said, the reason I mentioned this as being the biggest attack so far is September of 2022 was the last record. So you're talking September, October, November, December, January, February. In 6 months, this attack was, beaten. And you'll see by how much. So the previous record came, as I said, in Europe in September 2022. It appears to have been from the same threat actor who did this attack. And behind another record-breaking attack that Akamai blocked in July that hit that same customer in Europe. So now you have July, September, and February. So it's something that keeps going around. So the record was 704.8 million packets per second. So you're talking, a lot of data throughput through that. And once again, Akamai kind of dealt with it. Microsoft in January, in their Azure DDoS protection, seen a 3.47 terabyte attack that targeted one of its customers with 340 million packets per second. So this goes to show you this is a very common tactic that you're going to see. But as I said, the advantage is it's short-lived and it can be very intense. Recommend, and I don't care who, but you look and find out what best DDoS protection is available to you, and you invest in it, because this is what they're going to do. We've talked about this in the kind of the malware game, where they encrypt your data, they steal your data, they threaten to leak your data, and some of the groups now are doing, hey, we're going to DDoS your systems as well. So there's 4 different kinds of attacks with this, and as these botnets keep growing, you're going to see this continue over and over again, because it's not one computer sending this. It's a bunch of infected systems, and people may not even realize they are part of this chaos, and their machines are helping to attack a business they know nothing about. So why this is the record now, it's not always going to stay the record. So make sure you're protected. I highly recommend this if you're a business. The everyday person at home, you probably don't have to really worry about this on a big scale. Gamers, sometimes you'll see people sending a bunch of packet to a gamer's house to kind of knock them offline, but those are not the same as these. These are very coordinated, very high-skilled attacks. So if you're a business and a website is important to you, which it's very important to everyone at this point, please make sure you have some kind of protection. For our final story this week, I want to talk about the Xenomorph Android banking Trojan. It was first kind of seen, the Xenomorph was first seen February 2022, and had about 56 European banks through its dropper apps. Now, the reason I said it returns is because this is now the 3rd generation of the Xenomorph Trojan. And the threat group behind it is called Guckin Security Group. The updated version comes with some new features that allow it to perform financial fraud in a more seamless manner, which for us, yay! For them, I'm sure they're pretty proud of it. And it's designed this time to target more than 400 banking and financial institutions. So not just banking, it includes cryptocurrency wallets that may be on your device as well. And it performs this through what it calls overlay attacks, meaning usually you grant rights for certain applications to draw on top of other ones. If you have a password manager, some password managers do this as well, where they display a little box, you click it, and then it gets what you want. So they can put something on top of what it should be. Maybe in these cases, it's a username password that they kind of pass through. Now, the capabilities in this new software, like I said, makes it easier for them. It automates completely fraudulent transactions on infected devices. A device, and I swear this almost sounds like a business. So they call it Automated Transfer Systems. So ATS is what they call it. And it's helping them commit these fraud from these wallets or any other thing incredibly quickly. And banks are now moving away from SMS authentication. So, you're used to some banks, you put it in, you get the text, it comes back. ATS allows this Xenomorph banking Trojan to extract authenticator codes. So if you use an authenticator app, the one that gives you the random, usually 6 digits at a set time frame it rotates through. Yeah, this is made to steal those codes. Now, they can't get the coding behind it, but if they watch it, they can get at least the current and next codes, and there's some bleed over into the time in which they are able to be used. So as long as they are actively watching it, they can probably log into your account pretty quick. Not only does it steal username and passwords, it steals the authentication codes. It has the ability to steal cookies, which are the things that allow your computer to tell a website you're trusted already through. So if they steal those, they can kind of leverage them to pretend like their computers are already authenticated through and they're you and everything's there to take over accounts. Now, if you're looking for these specifically in your environments, the application's called Play Protect, which, if you're familiar with on Android, is the application that protects you against malicious apps. It's something Google has put in place. Now, they're both called Play Protect, but the actual app name underneath is called either com.great.com or meritoriousness.mola.presser. Both of these are available on our website for the show notes to be able to get an idea of it. And the other part about this that should, or at one point that was more concerning. Right now, they were advertising a service called Zombinder, like a zombie, but that site has since been shut down. But they were adding the APK binding service on the Mark Web, where they were taking, let's just say you had Bank of America. You sent them the Bank of America app, or they downloaded themselves, they made it a Trojan, and they gave it back to you, and you were able to just serve it out wherever you need to be. And you trick users into then clicking and downloading this Trojanized version of it, which then gives them access. Once again, as I said, the Zombinder service, they're making a zombie version of the app in which they control, has now been shut down. But it's something that, even if it gets shut down, someone's going to come in and take that service over and offer that service to other people. So it is still something you need to be concerned of. Make sure you're only downloading from legitimate sources. Not that guarantees you 100%, but at least Google's going through their sources and doing the best to check for it. If you download from one of those third-party sources, they may not necessarily be as thoroughly checked, and you could have problems. And if you're not well-versed, don't install APK files. Those are the install files for Android. Do not do that unless you know and trust the source it's coming from, because that's another way to bypass the Google Protection Store. All right, everyone, thanks so much for listening. I'm Jim Guckin. Don't forget, you can find more information, including the show notes, at cybersecurity.newsbyte.com. You can also find more information about me at jimguckin.com. You can send me a message at me@jimguckin.com. Don't forget to stay safe online, and we'll talk again next week.
You've been listening to the Cybersecurity News Byte with Jim Guckin. Learn more about our show at cybersecurity.newsbyte.com.